Hello, everyone. I am Seahams Niebuhr with FGS Global. Thanks for joining us today to hear from our speakers about the benefits clean energy tax credits have brought to communities across the nation and to their cities specifically. Our speakers today are Kate Wright, the Executive Director of Climate Mayors, Mayor Steve Patterson of Athens, Ohio, Mayor Sharita Smith of Lima, Ohio, Mayor Edward Krauss of Solon, Ohio, and Joe Flair, Executive Director of Power Clean Future Ohio. As a reminder, the content of today's briefing is on the record. We will kick off with remarks from our speakers, followed by a short Q&A. Please use the raised hand function under the react button if you have a question to get into the queue, and we will take them in the order in which we receive them. With that, I'll turn it over to Kate Wright.
Thanks so much, Seaham, and thanks everyone for joining today. I'm Kate Wright. I'm the Executive Director of Climate Mayors. We're a bipartisan network of nearly 350 mayors across the country who understand that the climate crisis is a cost of living crisis and are committed to pursuing the kind of bold solutions that are going to create healthier, safer, and more prosperous cities. Climate mayors across the country collectively represent 60 million Americans and their best interests, and that means adapting to a reality of a rapidly warming world. I am so thrilled to be here alongside our fabulous mayors today who have all been using the tools at their disposal to bring innovative and effective solutions to their communities. One of these tools is tax credits to help deliver cleaner, more affordable, and more reliable energy through direct pay, which local governments, nonprofits, states, and tribes can use to invest in clean energy projects. Businesses have been able to use these clean energy tax credits for years, but this is the first time cities and states have also benefited from them. The clean energy tax credits and direct pay have allowed local governments like the ones you'll be hearing from on this call to unlock innovative clean energy projects that bring good paying jobs to their communities alongside more affordable and more reliable energy. Protecting clean energy tax credits has never been more vital. We're hosting this call a day after the House Ways and Means Committee released draft text proposing significant rollbacks to the tax credits available to local governments through direct pay. And in fact, they are set to mark up the bill right now while we were on this call. Eliminating clean energy tax credits would be a huge mistake. Their benefits nationwide have been undeniable. Thanks to these tax credits, American families have saved more than $8.4 billion on clean energy and energy efficiency upgrades while benefiting from reduced toxic pollution and cleaner air. Red states and blue states alike have enjoyed the investments and opportunities clean energy tax credits have brought to their communities. Earlier this year, 133 mayors and elected officials across the country sent a letter to members of Congress calling on them to protect clean energy tax credits, which have been critical to the growth of their local economies. And just recently, a bipartisan coalition of 30 elected officials in Ohio signed a letter calling on the Ohio congressional delegation to protect direct pay and the economic boost it has provided Ohioans. The truth is, clean energy tax credits are good for business, good for our local economies, and for our public health. Preserving it is just common sense. Now, it's my honor and pleasure to turn it over to Mayor Steve Patterson to talk about how local governments in Ohio have been using direct pay to unleash clean energy projects thanks to the clean energy tax credits. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kate. Seaham, thank you for the intro. Again, I'm Steve Patterson, the mayor of Athens, Ohio, also the president of the National League of Cities and a member of several other state orgs. And I just got to start by saying that, mayors and local electeds, we truly understand the cost increases in critical services for local governments. It equates to an increase for everyday American households in terms of financial increases. Local governments, we don't just operate in the same fashion as the federal government operates. If costs go up for us, those costs are increased. They end up becoming increased costs for our citizens, for all of our residents. So as was mentioned with the markup, I'm hopeful that, smart policymakers will preserve these tax credits and save everyday Americans money. The Inflation Reduction Act's direct pay provision has enabled the City of Athens to implement projects and solutions that have positioned the City of Athens, home to Ohio University, a great partner with us here in Athens, as becoming leaders in sustainability. These projects have continued to reduce municipal and residential costs and have stimulated equitable economic and workforce development. There's a couple projects I want to mention that we're experiencing here in Athens, which I think are truly remarkable in a number of ways. The first one is our City of Athens Eastside Solar Project. This was a 2.1 megawatt solar array project, which utilized the community center campus, where we deployed solar on the rooftop of our community center, a canopy in front of our seasonal swimming pool, and then also a significant ground mount array that is right next to our wastewater treatment plant. Our wastewater treatment plant, like a lot of municipalities, is one of our not only critical assets, but one of our highest energy consumers. And we were able to work with Kokosing Solar here in the state of Ohio with a pretty remarkable power purchase agreement, where we are experiencing what I used to have to budget was $35,000 a month, over $400,000 a year for my wastewater treatment plant. We're seeing significant savings with that solar array. And not only there, we're seeing it at our community center, we're seeing it at the seasonal swimming pool. As a matter of fact, about 90% of the energy from our seasonal swimming pool is coming directly from renewables from the sun with this solar array. The other thing, just to say this out loud, and it's something that impresses me all the time when I think about this PPA agreement, we have a 6-year buyout at the end because of the Inflation Reduction Act credits that came to not only the city, but to Kokosing Solar, to where in 6 years' time, we will have first right of refusal to outright purchase the system and own it ourselves, which is going to even further drive down the expenses that the taxpayers in Athens bear when it comes to paying the electric bill with the typical grid energy. The second project is our EV fast charging station. It's a regional project. We refer to it as RIDES. And RIDES is basically a southeast to southwest Ohio responsive interregional deployment of electrification solutions. It's a mouthful. But RIDES is a project that will be moving forward with charge points between Dayton, Ohio and Athens, Ohio, basically covering the southern part of the state, where we have over 40 different census tracts that are part of this region and will be benefiting from having these charge points. It's a $2.5 million. Actually, it's about $16.7 million in total with corridor and communities grants combined through the DOT charging and fueling infrastructure grant to be able to do this. But it's going to be, covering about 71% of over 250 charge points between Dayton, Ohio, and Athens, Ohio. Three main things I want to share real quick, and they are that the benefits that we're seeing are threefold. Equitable economic benefits. Think about this for a minute. 97% of the RIDES grant, these are the charging and fueling infrastructure, they are located in disadvantaged communities. Long-standing, chronically distressed communities are going to finally receive charge stations where they're going to be able to see an increase of EV infrastructure, but also an increase that's being stimulated by their economies by having more increased EV traffic coming into their communities. This alone, in my opinion, is a project that's literally going to put communities in southern and southeastern Ohio in particular right on the map because of the tourism that they're going to receive. Workforce benefits is another biggie. The project on the east side, the solar array with Kokosing Solar, we were able to leverage their unionized workforce, their prevailing wage and their apprenticeship program to meet the IRA necessity and the necessary requirements within IRA to maximize that tax benefit leverage. So it's been amazing to do that kind of project with Kokosing and moving forward in time. The last thing is our energy efficiency and cost savings. I mentioned the savings that we're experiencing and will experience even more with our solar array down by the community center, powering the community center, the wastewater treatment plant, and three other mercantile accounts right there on the city's properties. And the city and the taxpayers are absolutely going to benefit. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks so much, Mayor Patterson. Mayor Smith, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mayor Sharita Smith, Lima, Ohio. I was first elected in November of 2021. And since we've been committed to leading a city that continues to utilize our infrastructure to power regional and national growth. And as Mayor Patterson has just stated, energy costs are going up for both residents as well as local governments. And the Inflation Reduction Act, specifically the direct pay provision, has allowed the city of Lima to pursue what I think is a very forward-thinking and innovative project, which is putting floating solar panels on two of our reservoirs, Twin Lakes reservoirs. This project would not be feasible without the clean energy tax credits. And it is going to allow us to save our own utility costs here at the city of Lima. So to power our water treatment plant through electricity, our bill is about $1 million per year. And we are looking at projections through our partner, D3 Energy, where we're going to save the ratepayers ultimately $200,000 in the first year and $10 million over the life of the project. I will say also that we're also using other tools like, aggregation. But we know that just that tool alone is not going to insulate residents from these increased costs. And it's important because water is a key component of our city's economic development strategy. And so if we can reduce costs to produce the water, again, we can pass those costs back on to the ratepayers.
Thank you so much, Mayor Smith. Mayor Krauss, over to you.
Hi, everybody. Eddie Krauss, Mayor of Solon. We're just a small little burb by Cleveland, Ohio. And one thing, ours is a little different. We used Power Clean for Future Ohio to pass a resolution a few years ago. And then what happened, we're redoing our community park, and we had to tear down a few trees for pickleball courts. And so we had a lot of residents that came to several of our council meetings and expressed sort of frustration with the process of tearing down trees to build pickleball. And it really led to more of a resident-led initiative, of which our administration became a partner in. But it was more resident-led. They, wanted to really take a look at all the different ways that we could take advantage of, whether it's clean energy tax credits or sustainability practices. But we actually got a great template from Power Clean Future Ohio, and it began the process of looking at everything that we've done in the past, but also looking at things that could really make our community a lot more sustainable. What we realized was we were doing things as a community, but we just never communicated it to our residents. So this resident-led sustainability council really helped us shape, more of what we're doing, and they looked at various ways that we could communicate this. So just a few areas that we're looking at: doing a complete energy audit of all of our buildings. We started the process of instituting LED lighting in our rec center, police department, and all the various buildings. that we have. We went through a whole process of spending millions of dollars with a flood management plan, improving our stormwater management so that any development now and any process has to go through with various phases of a stormwater management plan. It's really helped stem the tide of any flooding and stormwater issues that we've had in the past. We now have a program for renewable energy, exploring lots of different options for solar, both rooftop solar that we're looking at some of our buildings. We're trying to aggregate it where when we replace the roofs together, we'll look at solar, but also placing solar on the ground. We're looking at our wastewater treatment plant has pretty nice area for solar panels and looking to electrify that area and making it more use. It really came up. This also came up. We have a program, Soul and Connects, where we're taking all the old railroad lines and converting them into walking trails. And really gave us an opportunity really to look at all of our land uses, how we're better using the property, using land, how we're reconstructing our streets instead of just, regular road construction. We looked at, adding bike lanes and multi-purpose paths and a lot of green energy towards some of our reconstruction projects. All of our roads now, we use a complete streets model where it's much more energy efficient so that you're not just pouring the concrete and redoing the sewers, but you're looking at a lot of green initiatives and green energy when it comes to all the road construction projects. We brought in, thanks to our citizen-led group, Rust Belt Riders, which is a composting organization in Northeastern Ohio, working with our residents. We're educating our residents on composting, the benefits of composting, and now, people are doing it, taking their food compost and bringing it to the park, and looking at different ways to be able to access that. We have a tree, looking at all of our tree canopy and tree canopy report, and looking at ways to build what we call like mini forests, so that when some trees are taken down, we're looking at different areas to replant a mini forest. We opened up a state nature preserve. It's actually the first state nature preserve in Cuyahoga County up here in the north, and really a great opportunity to use the state nature preserve, and we're using it for educational purposes. Our schools are going there. We've done a lot of community hikes, giving people an opportunity of what is a state nature preserve and how it enhances the whole ecosystem. We have a community garden that we instituted as part of this process, but we also look at it as an economic development tool. We look at all the sustainability practices that we're working with some of our companies who have had, LEED certification in various levels with the federal government, but also looking at ways to create more permeable surfaces all over town, whether it's new development, redevelopment, but enhancing just that whole stormwater management process. And then lastly, I would just talk about the whole land use. Really, the Cleveland Metro Parks has really given us an opportunity to look at some of our land uses, whether it's some trails. They bought an old golf course and converting it into a public park, and looking at all these opportunities really for a lot more of a sustainable practice. But in the end, it was all driven by our residents. The residents really to take all these initiatives and take the lead in everything. They're helping us, with the communication piece. So I give them a lot of credit. It's sort of we were sort of behind where the community is, but the government now is just starting to catch up and using our resident-led committee, the schools, and our businesses really to help us with the initiative.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And now I'll turn it over to Joe Flair.
Well, thank you. And I want to just start with just a quick comment on what we just heard, a through line through every single one of our mayors. Is that direct pay and these clean energy tax credits are about infrastructure modernization and critical services from local governments. They make these things affordable for local governments. And I thought that was a resounding point I heard across all three of you all, especially in speaking to water treatment facilities as one key example of a high cost facility that these help address. I'm going to wrap up our line of speakers today, and then I'll turn it over for all of you to ask us questions. I want to start by just thanking Climate Mayors for collaborating with us on today's press conference. My name is Joe Flair. I serve as the Executive Director of Power a Clean Future Ohio. And I get the privilege to work with these three mayors and their incredible teams on a regular basis. PCFO is an Ohio-based nonprofit that works with a diverse array of 50-member local governments. We provide direct, comprehensive support to local governments in the form of sustainability and climate action planning, grant writing and data analysis, technical assistance, and project implementation support for these clean energy investments that you're hearing about today. One key point I want to share is that when we reached out to mayors across Ohio for today's call, we were not short on options. Our team actually had to turn some folks away. That's because these tax credits, and in particular, the direct pay provision, is a cross-cutting issue that impacts every local government. It is an opportunity for every Ohio local government to invest. They are critical economic tools within our tax code that help us build the economies of the future. Nationwide, Ohio ranks 7th in the highest number of new clean energy jobs, and is 6th for clean energy investments in low-income communities with $6.2 billion. It's also home to 114,000 clean energy jobs in our state. So it is a critical piece of what we do in our economy. But Ohio is a manufacturing state. It's a state that has long built things to power America. And when the IRA was first crafted, it was targeted with economic tools to help reshore American jobs. And there may be no better state across the country that stands to benefit from that approach with these targeted tax credits to help build American jobs. And I think two great examples of this is Ohio is home to the largest solar manufacturer in the entire country in First Solar. It's also home to another top five manufacturer of solar as well, right there in Pataskala, Ohio. We have soon to be the largest chip manufacturing facility in the entire world thanks to federal investment. We are no stranger to what it takes to build an economy from strong market signals from the federal government. And what we're seeing from the Ways and Means proposal that we saw just yesterday is uncertainty. And that is no way to help give a signal to businesses to invest. It's certainly no way for local governments. When I think about our mayors assembled here, as you all are planning your investments for your cities and how to ensure that things are stable and looking out into the future for your budget, you need certainty. Reducing the timeline for these tax credits, as we're seeing in these proposals, will really undercut the ability for us to leverage those investments. Projects already in development would likely stall. In addition, we'll see job loss and a lack of future investment in our economy, especially in our state. We need long-term consistency in policy, not sudden shifts, to build a clean energy economy that works for everyone. I want to just flag that, as I mentioned, there's lots of interest across a variety of local governments, and there's so many other projects we could highlight. For example, one really incredible one is the Cuyahoga County plans to utilize climate pollution reduction grants and these direct pay tax credits to help do multiple brownfield and landfill solar sites in Cuyahoga County and the city of Paynesville that would result in 63 megawatts of renewable energy and would result in 136 construction jobs, 17 jobs for reskilled workforce labor at the coal-fired power plant to turn them into solar and battery power workers at the solar and battery storage facility. The city of Cincinnati plans to invest $405,000 in direct pay tax credits for 5 solar projects on recreation centers and municipal buildings. 3 rooftop solar projects are planned to be installed in senior living facilities in the city of Reynoldsburg, city of Macedonia, and the city of Sylvania. The city of Columbus is accelerated a 6 megawatt bioenergy project at their water reclamation facility to secure $120 million in savings from the IRA direct pay provisions. These are incredible investments that have the chance to really change the outlook for a lot of cities, and reducing the timeline, changing how we can approach these, adding more inconsistency will only hurt our ability to do this work and build an economy that works for all Americans. So I want to just end by saying thank you to Mayor Krauss, Mayor Patterson, Mayor Smith for partnering with us on this call. We're proud to work hand in hand with local governments, and we hope Congress will be responsive to what we are hearing and seeing on the day-to-day here in Ohio and preserve these tax credits and the direct pay provision.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Kate. Thanks to our mayors. That concludes our speaking program. We'll now open it up for reporter Q&A. Again, if you have a question, please use the raised hand function under the React button and let us know your name and outlet, and we'll take them one by one. And I'm actually happy to kick us off with a question directed to all 3 of our mayors. How are you all thinking about your projects within the context of these attacks on the clean energy tax credits and direct pay?
I'll take that. So we've been, Mayor Smith, we've been following the lead of Mayor Patterson and others who have, moved into the clean energy space sooner than Lima. And with the help with PFCO, technical assistance, and educating ourselves around how this can benefit residents is how we got to this floating solar project. I want to point out that for the city of Lima, the project is leveraging $898,000 in direct pay tax credits. So that is a significant amount of money. And for us, as I've said, this would not be a project that we would be able to do without the direct pay credits. And not only does the posturing of the current legislation threaten this project, it also threatens us being able to be innovative and think about other ways about how we can protect our environment as well as continue to save energy costs for our residents. So it's the current project and the feasibility of future projects.
If I may just add to that a little bit, because I am so in agreement with Mayor Smith. When we're talking about the Inflation Reduction Act, we're talking about investments in America. We're talking about investments in communities. And I think you heard a little bit about this from Mayor Krauss as well, is that you find yourself as a civic leader looking around thinking, what can I help drive down the burden on our citizens by putting solar on your parking garage, or putting solar on your lift stations, or putting solar on anything. And it's the Inflation Reduction Act, it's IRA that's helping us get to that point in time, and to not have a level of sustainability and reliability of having these tax credits as we look forward in time, knowing that we need to continue to do better by our citizens. It makes that uncertainty to where we don't want to second guess how we're going to manage things. We want to be able to sit there and go, you know what, I can take advantage of this by continuing to deploy this. But at the end of the day, I can't stress this enough. This is investing in America. This is investing in our local municipalities, where we know where the rubber hits the road and what needs to be done in order to keep ourselves as efficient as possible and stewards of the taxpayer dollars, especially at the muni tax level, but it applies to state and federal as well.
And I would just add that, the leverage is really important for us here. We're a suburban community, and so we can't do it on our own. So we look to, you gather partnerships, whether that be our business community. We're mostly an industrial base, the schools, universities and colleges, the Cleveland Metro Parks, the Regional Transit Authority, our library, which we have a innovation center with. That's the way, you really are able to accomplish it. The more partnerships, there's more, a team approach to this whole ecosystem is probably the only way you're going to be able to accomplish this. And I think that's the approach a lot of municipalities have to take, because you have to have these partnerships in order to achieve, the results for your community.
Thank you, mayors. We'll give it a few seconds to see if anybody else has any questions. Oh, there we go. Lima News, please introduce yourself and tell us your question. Feel free to unmute.
Hi, I'm Jacob Espinosa from the Lima News. I'm just curious, what other pressure each of the mayors might be using to communicate with our elected representatives on this issue, and other than calls like this, and just touting the projects that have been made possible by the direct pay program.
Well, I can tell you, Jacob, thanks for the question, that given my position with the National League of Cities as the president of NLC, we are often on Capitol Hill and advocating for things like, continuance of direct pay, along with a sundry of other things, but this is front of mind for 19,500 cities, towns, and villages across the United States. So it's something to where we're always on the Hill, pushing for the continuance of this direct pay, these tax credits for solar and renewable energy sources.
I'll just add that there is similar work being done through the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and as well as letters being sent with the help of our Clean Future Ohio from Ohio mayors, and those direct conversations as well.
Yeah, I would agree. And also, we bring our representatives to the community. We make them we make them walk through our trails, and we make them walk through our park, and we make them walk through the state nature preserve. They have to see it, and they have to really experience it at a very ground level within the community, and then they begin to understand how it all connects together. So we try to bring them up here when they're in town, when our state senator is here. He comes around when whether, and our congressman does the same. We make sure that they see the activity that's going on the ground, because then they can have a much better idea of what's happening locally.
If I could add one more thing to the question being asked, Jacob, is sometimes it's things like Power Clean Future Ohio. PCFO was great for the city of Athens when they did a greenhouse gas inventory, knowing that informed us to know what's our starting point when it comes to our per capita carbon emissions. And lo and behold, we found out that we rank, #1 in the state of Ohio, and we're near the top in the United States, which is great. But it also gives us that forward momentum to sit there and go, what do we need to do to continue to improve? And I have to give a lot of applause to PCFO for all the products that they have been helping us as we're navigating, as mayors and elected officials, navigating through sometimes challenging terrain, but it certainly has been informative. And to Mayor Krauss's point, for me to have that greenhouse gas inventory, it's such a great storytelling document to go, here's how we're doing, and here's what we're doing here in the city of Athens.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that. Nat Ziegler, who is a part of our Sustainability Council, is actually helping us draft a community survey so that our residents can better inform us, what they expect and want from the community. So hats off to Nat for coming to our meetings every month and really giving us guidance into how to communicate this to our community.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Seeing no other questions in the queue, we will wrap. As a reminder, today's briefing was on the record. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to email me. My email is in the chat. Thank you again for joining us today, and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.